What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Attack in the Paint podcast. I'm your host, James Ivy Williams, founder and CEO of Between the Lines Sports. And today I have a special guest, first ever in person interview for Attack in the Paint, Haley Salvador. Did I say it right?
You did say it right, yeah.
Okay, Haley, welcome.
I'm excited to be here. My first interview in person, like you said, so I'm pumped.
Good stuff. So we were talking off camera about just how we met, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so bizarre sometimes because in the sport, right? So in basketball, you travel a lot. You're kind of
Right.
everywhere, especially you, and
Yeah.
and I do as well. And so when you see somebody frequently, you start to like just kind of put a face like I saw him here, I saw her
Yep.
there, and then you like see somebody over and over again, and we you and I can't remember when we first actually physically spoke.
Right.
We just know that we saw each other so many times in so many different locations
Yeah.
that we just sort of kind of became friends, just kind of just
Yeah.
in passing almost.
Exactly. It would be like a hey here, what's
Yep.
up here, and then by the time Peach Jam hit at the end of the summer, it was like, yo, what's up? I'm
Yep.
Haley, I'm James,
Yep.
locked in.
Yep, for sure. That's kind of I love basketball for that reason and sports in general
Me
for that
too.
reason because like it really is it's a communal kind of thing, right?
It's the only sport like that too.
Yep.
Like you don't see football with this kind of community or
Yep.
with this kind of like um, I'm lacking on the word, but just the culture to the sport like you see with basketball.
Yep.
And goes with that, like, seeing the same group of people, same group of creators, scouts, all that everywhere.
Yep, for sure. It's so you mentioned creators like the interesting thing is like so when I grew up I'm older so people don't
Don't
know
age
this.
yourself, you're not
It's,
old.
it's the baby face, right? But we didn't have creators and things
Yeah.
like that like when I was
It's a very new wave.
yeah, and so I remember that when I first got because I started off backwards. So when I started my scouting business, I started off covering the G League first, right? Started covering the G League, and then I went down to college.
Okay.
And then in my third year, I went to high school at AAU.
I kind of did the same thing. I started out in college,
Okay.
like filming in college,
Yeah.
and then went down to high school. But yeah.
And so when I came down, it was so bizarre to see so many people, right? Just so many people on the baseline with cameras, and I'm like,
Oh,
where
yeah.
are these people coming from?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And then it's like you started seeing. Then once you're in the space, you start seeing all the clips, and then you start seeing who's popular, who's
Yep.
like who has like a following, and then you start following those people. And I think I followed you even before I knew who you were. To be
Really?
honest. Yeah, I think I followed you before I knew who you were. And so because you were working
That's
at
funny.
Slam, then.
At Slam, yeah.
at Slam. And so
How did you find me?
one of your clips? I'm sure it was just a
Really?
highlight. Of
Yeah.
something. Or I might have been looking for a clip for a player or something.
Gotcha. That would make
And,
sense.
Yeah, and so like just kind of you hashtag the event and maybe the player,
Yeah.
and then it just pops up. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's a dope clip, and then it kind of go from there. Kinda go from
Exactly.
there. So how did you get into the business? Tell me about that. Tell me what made you say I want to shoot sports? Like what was it? What was it?
Yeah, so I played sports growing up. I was never a hooper. That's like such a common misconception about me. I guess people look at me. Common misconception about me. I guess people look at me and they're like, "You were sick, weren't you?" I'm like, "No, actually, like I played basketball and I was so bad that the point guard on my team broke her wrist and was in a hard cast. I still rode the pine. I was not good. Your girl had no vertical. So I played soccer growing up, but I was just enticed in sports from day one. Like I remember every Saturday, I would sit on the couch watching college football, the Gators with my dad.
Okay.
So I knew that from a very young age, I wanted to stay in sports.
Yeah.
And I feel like as a kid, you're like, oh, I'm going to be a pro athlete.
Yeah.
Like, boom, that's it. Pro athlete or astronaut or something crazy.
Of course.
So I was dead set on that.
Mhm.
And then senior year of high school came around and I had to decide on a major.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
But I did know that I wasn't one of those kids that was able to just sit in the class and stay still and just thrive.
Yeah.
I had to be very like hands-on.
Right.
And I had seen a kid at another high school that was like skipping school to take pictures of like football games in
Yeah.
college and parties. And I was like, that's sick. Like,
Yeah.
that looks like something I could pursue.
Right.
And my dad owned a camera. He wasn't a photographer, but he owned a camera. He would just turn it on, turn it off, take pictures.
Yeah.
But I started taking his camera towards the end of my senior year of high school.
Okay.
And started taking pictures, just really liked it, loved being in the environment.
Yeah.
Like all the athletes were still my friends. So I decided that I was going to major in visual communications, which is like a mix of advertising and graphics. I'm sorry, the advertising side of photography and graphics.
Okay.
So I got to college and
Where'd you go?
I went to South Carolina,
Okay.
University of South Carolina.
Okay.
So I went there kind of with the intention of I wanted to have a solidified career
Yeah.
before I graduated. I knew that what I had chose was a little bit more difficult of a career path in terms of like you would need more hands-on experience than you would say for like a math degree or something of that. Um, so yeah, I got to college and I locked in. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. Like I'm here for this. I'm not here for the college experience, which in part like I was, you know.
Yeah, of course.
But
we have to be a little bit.
exactly, you gotta have some fun here and there. But yeah, so like I joined the newspaper and school newspaper, started taking photos, worked my way up to sports photography, got a job with Baller TV my sophomore or junior year of college.
Okay.
And that was my first time filming. And I filmed Pango. So I filmed like Jalen Green and Cade my very first day. That's what locked me in right there.
I might have been there too, though.
No way. You were at that when Mikey Williams was playing?
Yeah, when Mikey was like 14.
Yeah. No, but that was my very first weekend on the job.
I might have been.
That is crazy. Like Dior, Sky, Mikey, Jalen, Gup.
That's crazy.
Wow. So we go further back.
I didn't even know. Wow.
That's crazy. I'm sure there was a couple other events that year that we must have been at.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so like that was my first event, and walking into a gym and just seeing Jalen and Cade just casually do what they did, I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
And then actually while I was there on my first day, Cassie Athena walked in the building, and she was like at the time, which she still is, like a huge photographer.
Yeah.
But at the time, like all the guys were wearing shirts with Cassie Athena's name on it.
I bought one offline, by the way.
Did you really?
Just straight offline. Never been given. I went to her website and purchased one offline.
I contemplated it. Yeah. I was like, this girl is sick.
Yeah.
So I walk in the gym, my very first day shooting. We actually did a photo shoot first, so I got to shoot Jalen Green, Cade, all them.
Okay.
And then I walk into the gym, and I had heard of her online, but I'd never seen her in person.
Yeah.
And I walk into this gym, and I see like Josh Christopher with an Evan Mobley wearing shirts that said Cassie Athena. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like these guys who are going to be in the league in 2 years are just like wearing t-shirts with this female photographer's name on it. Like I want that.
Yeah.
You know, like I want that for myself. Like that was so inspiring to see. So just a combination of everything that led up to that moment. After that, I was locked in. I was like, this is what I'm going to do forever.
That's great, right? That's great to hear. I think the inspiration of it all is I think that's a huge point, because so many people don't know why they're inspired by something, right?
Right, yeah.
Like so some people want to be famous, some people want to be popular, some people want to make a lot of money.
Right.
They want likes, whatever. Like something like literally like triggered you, right?
Yeah.
And then so you work your way there, and then you see pretty much what you could become.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the cool part about it. Because like I met her at Summer League, and she walked in, she randomly sits next to me, and I'm like, and you know how like I know her, but I'm not.
She has like an aura about her.
Yeah, for sure. And so we start talking, and she's just snapping shots, and she's like, I'm just taking pictures of some of my friends. So I'm like, what's your name? And she's like, Cassie, and I was like, oh shit, I know you. Yeah. And same kind of thing, like just see her a lot too. But like that's cool to you can see where you want to get to. And then the cool part about her, she's still growing.
Right.
And so like it's not like she's stagnant, or she's still growing. So there's always like a mountain to climb almost.
Exactly.
That's kind of cool.
Exactly. And it wasn't really like, I don't want to be like, oh, it was for the fame type of thing. But no, just like seeing a female at that point. And this was before, like we were saying, like this was before it was cool to be a videographer, you know, like it wasn't saturated like that. Yeah. So just seeing her like peak so early in like the rise of the social media creator age, and then just keep going has been like, as a woman, it's so cool.
Yeah, for sure. And she's impactful too. That's the thing.
She
like,
is.
And it's not just the high school kids. She's connected with everybody.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Like she's across the board, NBA, college, everyone knows her.
Exactly.
And that's and then I know she's like doing like other things outside of sports now too, which is kind of cool. So she's like definitely like broadened.
She's well rounded.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So go to USC, South Carolina, by the way.
South Carolina, the real USC.
Right. That's what I say. And then Baller TV is your first job, like I guess
like
in the space.
Yeah.
So as you're getting ready to graduate, you said junior year. So senior year, you're all Baller TV. So when you graduate, you come back to Atlanta.
Yep.
Right. And then what's next? Like what happens?
So senior year is actually, I went on spring break my senior year, and the day I was coming home was the day that the world shut down for COVID. So kind of like the worst timing to be graduating from college.
Yeah.
And it was honestly like it was really, really frustrating. Obviously, there was like a lot worse things going on in the world, but you know, I prepared myself what I felt like really well throughout college for the moment that I graduated, which in my mind was going to be like this all-encompassing moment of I fulfill my dreams.
Right.
And the world was shut down. Like there was no sports. Basketball pretty much didn't exist.
Right.
They were doing like marble racing on ESPN at the time.
I remember.
You remember that? I mean, it was entertaining. At least like it was kind of fun to watch. But yeah, I graduated and there was no jobs existing. I actually like it mentally it was really tough. I went back home and instead of kind of just jumping into a job, I knew that I was still set on sports and this was something that I had bet all my eggs in the basket on and I wasn't changing.
Okay.
So I kind of just waited it out. I started freelancing a little bit.
Okay.
I was pretty much doing anything I could to get my bills paid. For like about 6 or 7 months, I was doing food photography.
Okay.
Which like this is the first time I ever admit that. But
what's food photography exactly?
It's exactly what it sounds like. Like when you go on Yelp and look at those pictures, I was taking those pictures.
Really?
And that was just like to pay the bills. And I was applying for every job left and right. I was applying for jobs at like Honda of Gwinnett photographer. And they're like, no, you're not good enough. Wow. And so everything was just like, wow, like, did I just bet all my eggs on the wrong thing?
Yeah.
But I kind of just stayed consistent. I linked up with like smaller college, high school athletes to try and do shoots where I could.
Yeah.
To try and like just stay relevant in the sports space. And then once it started opening back up, I had reached out. I met somebody at Slam when I was working for Baller TV at that Peach Jam, which I'm guessing you were probably at that Peach Jam.
Yeah.
It was the game where I think it was where Cade. It was Texas Titans versus. Oh, was it Cade versus Scotty? Maybe.
Scotty was playing for Knight Riders.
It was Knight Riders versus Texas Titans.
They were loaded too, by the way. Knight Riders were loaded.
Oh my gosh.
Him,
Greg,
Isaiah Todd, Jesus, they were.
Mike Miles was on that team. That was probably one of my most like memorable games I've ever filmed. But yeah. Anyway, at that game, I met a Slam videographer and pretty much was like, "Hey, I love you guys. One day I'm gonna work for you. Keep my name in mind."
Yeah.
Didn't really talk to him. 2 years later, I circled back, like, "Hey, remember me? Like, I'm in Atlanta. Do you need any videographers?" And they were like, "Yeah, like we actually need someone to film Scoot." So I started freelancing with them.
Okay.
And started like bringing in to the conversation, like, do you guys have any full-time opportunities? So I went from freelancing with them, and then about 4 months later, they brought me on retainer.
Okay.
And I did that for about 6 months. So I was working retainer, full-time job, but for a set amount of pay.
Yeah.
And then eventually from day one of me starting freelancing to 9 or 10 months later, I was full-time with them.
Okay.
So kind of like it was kind of just by chance. Like they needed somebody in the area. Scoot was really blowing up at that time.
Yeah. And
I got to cover Scoot, which one of my favorite athletes to this day.
Mine too.
Amazing kid. Like honestly, like one of the best kids I've met in the sport.
I tell people all the time because a lot of NBA people always ask about Scoot and who he is as a person. The players, they can see that.
Right.
But I always say, you've met my daughter before. I always say like, I'd let him marry my daughter. Yeah. That's how nice of a kid he is.
I would love for him to marry my daughter.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, and for me, like growing up as a hooper, being around basketball pretty much my entire life, that's a hard thing to say.
Like about what they're like.
I know what basketball players are like. I know what I was like when I was a kid. So like, right. So for me to say that, and I remember the first time I said it, it just came out. It wasn't like a planned statement. And I was like, dang, like that's how
to think about that.
Right. But like that's how nice of a kid he is. Like I've never seen, heard, experienced anything other than like a positive kid.
I always tell people, like, I genuinely don't think that Scoot would talk about basketball if you didn't ask him about it. Like, if he wasn't built like an athlete, you wouldn't know because he's not the type that's like, oh, I just went crazy.
Yep, regular kid.
Yeah,
regular kid. And so that's a cool, like, for you to kind of be able to target him when he's first kind of popping, right, and blowing up. What's that like, right? Like, so you're around him a lot. You're around him in unique situations, and probably like just the camera being there, maybe not fans and other people being around. Like, what's that like with him? Because he's about to be at worst the number 3 pick in the draft.
At worst, right?
Yeah. So like, what's that like for you?
I don't know. For me, it's pretty cool. Like, I feel like, and this sounds kind of bad sometimes, but I kind of get desensitized
Mm.
to being in those situations as opposed to before I started
Mhm.
shooting. And you kind of have to be just as a creator. Like,
Yeah.
no player wants you like, oh, let's collab on
Right.
this. Are you gonna tag me? Blah blah blah. Like, you kind of savor the relationship
Yep.
to build that later on.
Mm.
So filming Scoot early on was really cool. I didn't really know him when I started filming,
Yeah.
but I think after maybe like 3 or 4 games, he started to reach out to me, and
Okay.
we got in contact. I got in contact with his mom, his sister, awesome people.
Yes.
I freaking love his family. They're incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I started shooting just like trainings of his and kind of behind the scenes stuff with him,
Mm.
which was really cool. And it's crazy because, like you're saying, like there was never a moment where I was like, maybe this kid isn't who I think
Yeah.
like he is 100% who you think he is as a great person.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a second of doubt in any interactions that I ever had with him or his family.
That's great.
They were always like, what can we do to help you? Like,
Right.
we want you to be here for Scoop, blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
So it was just really cool. That I'd say that was like my first like big player relationship.
Yeah.
Because leading up to that, I was told, do your thing, but don't interact with the players.
Yeah.
Which I understand. Like, I'm here to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm not here to be your best friend. So I kind of just like stayed away. I would never even send content.
Yeah.
So kind of developing that relationship for me, like it was a turning point in my career where I saw like, oh, like I can actually like be friends with this person and their family because the relationship is like mutual.
Yeah. It's organic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it wasn't like, oh, I'm here to use them or they're here to use me.
Right.
Like it was like, no, like it was very like mutual, organic.
Yeah.
And kind of just like unlocked a world that I never had seen before of being more personal with my work.
Yeah.
And not really just being like the new stat reporter videographer.
Makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. I think when people have good intentions, right, things happen organically because of it.
I agree.
Right. I think how my business has always worked. I've never wanted like first of all, I hate running behind kids. I hate when people know who I am, and I think the business has grown so much that people know who I am now.
Yeah.
But I loved when no one knew who I was.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It's nice.
I love just being in the gym, have my computer on my lap, doing what I'm doing, and leaving.
Yeah.
And so, but the other side is like as people get to know you and you get to know them on a genuine basis, it makes it all better because when you see them exceed and excel,
yeah,
you can say I was there then, right? And for no other reason, just to be proud. Like literally, like some guys, I'm just proud to see. You know, like see them.
I got chills even when you see these right now.
Yes, but it's so amazing to see them just grow. Like seeing Jabari last year. I mean, that was one. But Ant was probably the first one for me that like watching him from high school to Georgia to draft and like now All-Star this past year. That's fucking crazy.
It's special.
You know, like, and I remember being at a Georgia practice with some scouts and me and him just having a regular conversation. Yeah. And nothing about basketball. Right. So we talked about where we were from, just how the neighborhoods were, just regulars. Same kind of kid though. Yeah. Very similar. Like if you didn't know that he was a 6'5" All-Star, he'd talk about anything but basketball.
That's what I've heard too. Yeah.
And so it was just kind of cool. And so like just to watch that kind of stuff happen is that's kind of cool for sure.
Yeah, that's like probably my favorite part of shooting high school. At least like this past year was the first year that I got to see like the kids I shot when they were in high school come to fruition in the NBA. Yeah. And I don't know, like it's cool. Like you feel like a proud parent. Yep. Like another player that comes to mind is Flage. Yeah. Filmed her a lot last year. Like she was probably one of the next players that I really developed like a good relationship with. And like I feel like I'm winning when she wins. Like I'm so happy for her and so proud of her that like it's like I'm not even at the game or filming it, but like I used to never watch basketball. Yeah. I'm watching all of her games just because like I filmed her and like I want to see like you want to see these kids succeed. Yep. So like seeing it come full circle. Yeah. I don't know, like it's very rewarding. Yeah. There's no better. I mean, honestly, there's not a greater feeling than that's when you know that you're really just in it for them to win. Like, exactly. There's no other reason. Like it's rewarding to see them succeed. That's great. Yeah. So how long were you at Slam after you become a full-time? So it takes you about a year to become a full-time employee. How long are you at Slam? About a year after that, yeah. Okay. And so tell me what the process, because like
that's when like I think you and I really got close because we see each other at college games, see each other at NBA games, see each other at
Yeah.
AAU tournaments, high school games.
Yeah.
Like you were everywhere. Like I pride myself on being everywhere, right? And so because I always make sure that I always want to let people know like I'm from Atlanta, but like I'm national in what I do.
Right.
And so to see anybody else from Atlanta out of town was always like a big deal, right? Especially like region. Like once you're out of like the region, right? When you go to like Texas or California or anywhere else, like you see somebody that's not from, like see somebody from home, like that's a big deal. So like, what's that process like? Like just the travel, the experience of just being one of the only females on the circuit, pretty much, and have a name and have like notoriety in the space as well. What's that like?
So at first, like it was kind of weird to me at first. Like I guess my first couple events really working for Slam is when I started to get like other creators come up to me and like just like, hey, like I really like what you're doing, keep it up type of stuff, which is really nice, but I wasn't expecting it or used to it. Because I'm like, this is what happens to the players that are filming, not to the videographer behind the camera.
Right.
But no, it was a very interesting process. Like to break it down, like for traveling with Slam, say it was like a EYBL event, they would send like most of the times it would be just me. I was traveling once or twice a week for them, and I would go out, cover an event myself, do all the posting to Slam High School myself, did the YouTube recaps, all that, which was a grind. But on the flip side, I did get to meet so many different people when I was traveling, and that kind of helped me expand my network, which is I always tell people this, like the number one thing in this industry is networking.
Yes.
Like you are not going to get a job through LinkedIn or applying on Glassdoor. You're going to get a job through networking and word of mouth. Like I always tell people whenever they're like, what's the one piece of advice that you would give me? And I always tell them, make one friend at everything you shoot and keep in contact with that friend because you never know who's in the room with you. Like I made some of my best connections shooting like galas, stuff that had nothing to do with sports. And like I'm just plugged in with sports people now. So yeah, like that was the best part of traveling was just like meeting people. Like obviously we met in God knows every freaking state. But being also like that female representative, I was one of the only women on the Slam videographer staff, at least. The high school staff at the time was 4 people, so I was the only girl on that staff, and I feel like it kind of just like let other women know that like there is a spot for you, and like not only is there a spot, but like you can fucking run.
Curse.
Okay,
you're fine.
sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. Yeah, curse, please. Please.
Like you can run this shit, you know? And after that, like I don't know if it was maybe I just wasn't paying as attention at the start, but like seeing the amount of female creators that are like in this industry now is so cool. Like and they're killing it too. It's not like you're seeing girls who are just trying to be another girl in sports. Like no, like these are girls who are going to be running this industry very, very soon. So that was really cool. And just over like that, I guess 2 years of working with Slam, I would start to get like DMs from other female creators. And that was like the other real source I'd say of motivation is like someone once told me if you see her, you can be her. And that's like always plays through my head.
I love that.
Every day. Yeah. It's like one of my favorite like pieces of advice that I've ever been told. So like I always try to tell them that too. But I still don't really feel like I'm in that spot where I've earned to be receiving those messages yet because I still send those messages to people. And maybe it should always be like that. But no, like that was a huge turning point and just getting to meet everybody and network and just like share stories with people, I think was a huge part of my journey.
That's great. If you can see her, you can be her.
I know, that's one of my favorite quotes.
I like that. But I want to talk about this because you just brought it up, like how important relationships are, right? So you just talked about just making a friend at every event you cover and staying in contact with them. I think you hit a nail on the head because I have interns working with me now, and I'm always telling them about how important it is to grow relationships. So for me, I think I'm in year 8 of the business, right? Wow. And so everything, so like once a month I have like I'll have a guest speaker come talk to us via our Zoom call, right? And so typically they're like really big NBA executives, typically like GMs and people like that. And they're always like, James, how do you know these people? I'm like, bro, like I met this guy 6 years ago
Right.
at the combine, by chance, and I stayed in touch with him.
Exactly.
I never asked him for anything.
Exactly.
I never tried to position myself in order other than just to be
That's
a friend.
also like one of the most important parts
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Just simply, I would say, non-transactional relationships.
Yes.
That's what I would say. So like, there's nothing that I necessarily want from you.
Exactly.
I'm going to work hard. You're going to see me work hard, and then if you want something or you think I'm good enough for something, that'll be on you by yourself.
Exactly.
And so I don't ask people for anything. Ever.
I always say save the relationship
Yep.
over the money every time.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that's a nugget that I think people will probably have to get from this call, this conversation in particular, is just how important it is to actually just grow organic relationships.
Yeah.
Like, they're so fucking important
Oh my
because, like you
God.
said, you ain't getting no fucking job. Listen, that's the thing. Like, I know this in basketball in particular. You're not getting a job
Nope.
going on WeWork or whatever
they don't even check them.
Yeah, they don't, teamwork.com. They don't care. They don't even post NBA scouting jobs on those sites. They don't post executive jobs.
And you could be
sites.
the best at your job, but if you're applying through those without knowing somebody, you're not getting it. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't know, like for me, it was hard. I didn't have any connections in the sports industry, and I knew that. I was like, shit, like how can I, like you have to know somebody. I don't know anybody. So even then, I went through somebody that I had met that knew it, and that's literally why I'm at this table right now, is even coming from Slam.
Yeah.
I saw that there was an opening at Overtime. I did the thing. I applied on LinkedIn and nothing.
Yeah.
And I knew like I should be a good candidate for this position. Like I think I have all the requirements,
right,
all that, but they never even saw it. So it's the same thing where like I had to go through somebody that I met at an event who happened to know somebody at Overtime that could tell the right person that my resume was in their email. So everything is literally based off of friendships, networking, and like that's something like even yesterday I was DMing people. Like I always try to like I think every week I try to do like 3 to 5 different people. Just like sometimes I know them and I'm like, hey, just thinking about you, saw this picture and thought about you, or like somebody I aspire to be like, and just hey, like I'm Haley, like this is some of my work. Love what you did in XYZ picture. Hope to connect soon.
That's great.
Just like building those relationships is so overlooked.
But you've got like a grinder mentality, and like that's lost, right? Because I feel like a lot of younger people, again, I'm aging myself, I sound so old. Like a lot of younger people just want it kind of handed to them.
They want A to Z.
Yeah, quickly. Like, and so, and in this business in particular, like you said, I feel like anything in sports is so fucking hard because there's, like you said, there's no get a degree, apply, you get the job. No. It's not like being a lawyer or right. It's like it doesn't happen.
Linear like that.
No, it's not at all. And so like it's so fucking hard to do it, and then to find somebody who's been successful in it, but still is keeping up with the same processes and procedures that got her there.
Yeah.
Right. That's important too, because some people get there then they forget. Yeah. I remember last summer I was at Summer League, and a buddy of mine had just got a really big job, really big job in the NBA, like, top tier, not the main guy, but like one of those guys on a team as far as like running the team. And he was complaining about all these people coming up to him giving him resumes. And I had to tell him, I said, bro, I said, you got to remember, like, first of all, I was one of those guys, first of all. And secondly, you were as well. At some point, you were reaching out, because he's told me the story. You reached out to people to try to get jobs and get your foot in the door.
Exactly.
I was like, so at some point, you have to be able to remember that, like, they're just eager like you. It can be a lot because you're only one person, and they don't know that they're the 13th person that's come up to you in the past 2 hours, right? They see you and they see the opportunity to meet you, get to know you, and whether a relationship grows or not, you have to be able to receive them, because that moment can like really impact them continuing or not.
Exactly.
Like, I was like, there are a lot of assholes. You're not an asshole. There are a lot of assholes in this business who would just shun guys.
Right.
And so you have to be able to show a little grace to these people, but at the same time, you got to be able to respect the fact that they have the balls to walk up to you.
Exactly.
Cold.
Exactly.
And introduce themselves.
You know how scary that is too?
So fucking scary.
Like even like to this day, I'll want to do that, and I'll be in a public setting and I'm like hyping myself up. I'm like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like props to people who do that. That was something I also did that I think is like huge too.
Yeah.
And also something that I'm still doing, part of the grind. Like I would always, like if there was a photographer that I looked up to, I would DM them like, hey, do you have 30 minutes? I want to pick your brain.
Yeah.
and I'd hop on a call with them. Would never add like you said, like it's not like what can you do for me?
Right.
I'm like, what's your story?
Yeah.
Like, what helped you?
Right.
How did you get from here to there?
Right.
Like, what was your process?
Right.
What's your story? Because I'm gonna pick out one thing from there that's gonna help me with mine. And like that is super important too. And like people when they come up and ask you,
Yeah.
or like just, hey, how are you trying to network? Like you have to have an open mind because you were that kid too.
Yep. I think that's the one. I think that's the difference between people that are really successful and great leaders. I think great leaders always remember where they came from, and they always treat people the way they would want to be treated. And that's how I try to be. Like I always want to treat somebody how I would want somebody to treat me if I'm walking them cool. I'm shy, like so I'm a naturally shy person. So like even this is like a lot for me, right? And so I'm the same with like how you say like you're hyper. I have moments like even to this day. I've been in this business. I've worked in basketball pretty much my entire adult life, but I have moments where like I just get nervous and I can't say anything.
You freeze up,
and
right?
And I'm like, like, and you're so upset because like
you have the script in your head, right?
Right. So this is not last 2 summers ago. No, it wasn't summer. It was winter. It was like I went to Vegas for the G League showcase. Right. I went to Vegas for the G League showcase, and Nico Harrison had just got the job as the Dallas Mavs new GM. Right. Okay. And I saw him at a random hotel. It wasn't even one of the popular. It was like the Venetian. No one was even there. But I saw him at the fucking hotel.
And the Venetian is sick though.
Yeah. But like everyone was this other place. Yeah. So I just happened because the Venetian was next to the hotel I was staying in. So I just went over there to kind of see it. And I see him, and I'm like, shit. Right? And I'm like, should I say something? Should I say something? Should I say something?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Right. And so by the time I get the courage to do it, he's on the elevator. And I missed him, and I never saw him again. And I didn't see him again until this past summer at the combine. And I introduced myself and I told him the story. He's like, maybe you should just say something. I was like, bro, I was so fucking nervous. And
he was like that though. And then you think about it for the next couple of years.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like you remember those moments. So they stick out. Some of those moments stick out to me like they're yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And so that's the crazy part.
I'm like, they're probably replaying that moment in their head too. I'm so weird.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like they're just people. Right. And the thing's like for every asshole, you're going to find 5 really nice people who understand and get it. And you just gotta get to the point where you know those people. Like my circle isn't huge. I know a lot of people in my circle, like the people that I know that I can call.
Right.
If I call them, they're gonna answer the phone. Like the people that do my calls for my kids. If I call, hey, can you jump on my Zoom call at 12:30 on a Sunday? Send me the link. That's it. That's all I get. No questions asked. Like that's the kind of people you want to be around. That's the kind of people you want to have those relationships with, and that's the important part. So. You told me like you got your first camera from your dad. It was your dad's camera. What's young Haley like though? So you told me you played soccer.
You don't want to know.
I want to know because like sometimes like that's the cool part about it. Like you have no idea how some of those things impact your upbringing. So like what's young Haley like outside of playing soccer? You got siblings.
Imagine the Tasmanian Devil that was like on like cocaine.
Really?
Oh, it was me.
So like hyper.
I was crazy. Like I never brushed my hair as a kid, to preface. Like I was very much a tomboy.
Okay.
Never was into like the dolls kind of girly things.
Yeah.
Like I was out in my back creek, like catching crawfish with a lacrosse stick or riding dirt bikes or going off skate ramps that I had built.
Okay.
Like I was very much outdoorsy kid.
Okay.
I thought I was like a little Nicki Minaj when I was younger. I was really into rap music. And like at the age of like 9, I could rap you probably every song on Watch My Shoes by Lil Wayne. Like that was my ringtone in 6th grade. I had no business having Watch My Shoes as my ringtone.
Okay.
But no, I was just like a little fireball. But really like
pause. What's your favorite verse? Give me a bar, one line.
From any Lil Wayne
anything you want. Give me one line.
I have a Lil Wayne tattoo going down my body.
What does it say?
This is very embarrassing. It says I was 18 and stupid, but it says do it big and let the small fall under that. And it is like,
what song is that?
Right above it.
Yep.
It's like a 2.5 foot tattoo going all the way down my body.
Okay.
Terrible decision, but I was 18. There it goes. Like I was 18 and I was like, I'm an adult. I'm gonna do what I want.
What you want?
I did what I wanted. Regret. But no, like as a kid, I was just super outdoorsy, super into sports. Like that's kind of what drove what I wanted to do today.
Yeah.
But no, I was kind of a bad kid. Like I was disrespectful as a little kid. I would get like my report cards would be like, she talks too much.
Yeah.
You know, she talks back, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I think I always had like good intentions.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't know how to contain myself
Yeah.
in like a school setting as a kid.
I think sometimes defiance is the precursor to creativity sometimes, right? Because I think what happens is structure, school structure, work structure, whatever the case may be, it's literally trying to put you in a box.
Yep.
And for creative people, that's not conducive for anybody that's creative, right?
100%.
I wasn't a great student either. So like for me, I was just like, I wasn't defined that way, but I wouldn't do shit. I just wouldn't do work because I was like, it never interests me.
No.
Like ever. Like nothing. I would just be like, I don't.
And I knew, I was like, why do I need to know this math equation? When the hell am I gonna ever use this?
Exactly. So I think sometimes defiance is simply like just a precursor to creativity, and obviously you grew up to be a creative, which is kind of the point, right?
It's kind of funny because I'm so the opposite.
Yeah,
now,
same thing.
I was such like a rule. I was like, rules are made to be broken when I was younger, and now I'm like in bed by 9:30. Yeah. Like a full adult now.
That's funny. I'm kind of the same way. Like I have a master's degree. Like I went back to school. Just
I'm making like arugula salads at like 11.
Same thing.
Little me would be like laughing.
Spinach and kale here. Spinach and kale.
That's gross.
Yeah.
Arugula is a little better.
Yeah, it helps. I'm old. I gotta
do what you gotta do.
So anyway, so a little rambunctious, a little defiant.
Very much,
right?
Yeah.
Does this proceed all the way through teenage years and everything as well?
Pretty much all the way through high school, unfortunately.
Okay.
I think towards the end of high school, I started to get my shit together.
Yeah.
When I started to be like, oh, like I'm an adult and this isn't gonna fly anymore.
Yeah.
I started to like kind of settle down and get like reality checks. Yeah. But no, pretty much like my whole childhood.
Okay.
I if I could go back in time, like I would slap that girl silly. But no, I mean you live and learn.
Yeah.
Like,
but the cool thing is like that. The cool thing about it, and I guess because I'm gonna keep talking about how old I am, but like when you're older, you see like those things kind of shape you, right? Yeah. That's the cool thing about it is that like they actually shape who you are.
100%.
Yeah, and like you can't. While you may go back and smack her because like maybe it's some shit that you regret doing. Most of the time, like, yeah, you probably did it the way you're supposed to do it because you end up where you are, right?
And had I not done those things, maybe I would still be that person that I used to be. So no, you're right. I think everything happens for a reason. Yeah.
Being adventurous, like honestly, like being adventurous, like jumping off ramps and dirt bikes and in the creek and all that shit. That may be something to the point of why you're able to speak to people when you can. Because some people, like you gotta think about it. If you're not taking risks and chances then, how do you take risks and chances now?
Exactly.
Right? So I mean, I think it's probably some of that too. Yeah.
And that's exactly the type of kid I was growing up. Like I would be the kid that would walk up to you. If I was in a room with Ludacris, I would be the kid that walks up and just sings him a song a cappella. Like, so that definitely translated to my adulthood and like being able to just like put myself out there and form those relationships.
That's great. So how does your work affect family, right? So mom, dad, do you have siblings? Or you?
I have one older sister. Yeah.
So are you close with everybody?
Yeah, we're super close family.
Okay. So how does work impact that? Because you're traveling a lot, you're going a lot, you're busy.
Yeah.
Like how does that affect day-to-day life?
Man, it's tough. Like when you say that this job is a grind, it's a grind, and I'm here 6 days a week, most of the time, 10 to sometimes 17 hours a day.
Shit. Yeah.
And then by the 7th day is my free day, and you'll see me at the Hawks game.
Yeah.
So really, I'm working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And it's tough. Like when I was at Slam, I was responsible for running social on the weekends, which last year every single holiday fell on a weekend. So I missed Christmas, Thanksgiving, my mom's birthday, Easter, Halloween, Valentine's, like you name it, I missed it.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like a sacrifice that you have to make in this industry. Like it is literally nothing short of a grind. And, I'm still super close to my family. Like we'll go and have dinner, or like reserve a Sunday to where we can all hang out together.
Yeah.
But even outside of that, like this is my life. Like when people ask me, like what do you do outside of here? Like I sleep.
Yeah.
I sleep and then I come back here 8 hours later.
Yeah.
And I love it though. Like I'm not saying like this is so unfortunate. Like I chose this when I came in here.
Right.
I love what I do. And I do wish that I had more time for my family, but I mean, I know that they're really proud of me, and
Yeah.
that's like a huge part too of like my motivation is I want my mom to be proud of me as I think everybody else
Yeah,
does.
for sure.
And I took such a different route. My whole family's in marketing,
Yeah.
and I took a really different route. So I think I kind of have something to prove to myself
Yeah.
here, and that's why I push myself so hard. Is like I'm so scared of failing
Yeah.
that like I'm not gonna fail.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like when you're really passionate about something, you can't fail at that.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I like that. That's so I think having a passion for something, right? Having motivation for something, and then having an internal drive, which all sounds like you have, and then also having an external drive, which is like, like wanting someone to be proud of you, wanting someone to push you. All those things I think are super important factors into being successful. And then not just successful, because I think some people can become successful off of just talent, right? But then there are people who have to work and people who have to grind for stuff, right? I think and that separates the two, right? They always say like, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, right? But like hard work and talent will be just hard work every fucking time. So if I'm talented and I work hard, there's no fucking way that you gonna touch me.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's the cool part about what I'm hearing from you right there. Like is that like for me this is very similar. Like that's why I love doing this, is because you kind of find like commonalities with people that you might not have found before. Yeah. And like hearing that is so similar to like me and my story. Like part of it is like I'm self-determined as a motherfucker. So I hate to lose. I am super competitive. I'm super competitive. I want my mom to be so proud of me. Like even the business, right? So like for me, the business is a thing. This is very eerie too. Like so I had a son that passed, right? I'm sorry. Today's his birthday. Today's his birthday. Thank you.
Happy birthday to him.
Right. All right. So today's his birthday. And when I was driving here, I was like, so part of the reason why I started the business is because I wanted to I was working like a regular, I had got out of basketball for like 1 year. And that 1 year I was doing, not 1 year. I was out of basketball for a minute, but I was doing something that I didn't want to do. Right. When I started this, I was like, I want to do something. I want to become the guy that I want him to be proud of. Yeah. And so when I literally got in the car, I was like, I'm on his birthday, I'm doing this shit that I said I wanted to do. Oh. And so like that's like I don't tell people that. This is more like an internal thing that I kind of keep me going. But there's all these other things too. But like to have all these different motivations, like it's like
tearing up.
Oh, don't cry. But like it's one of those things that it definitely like impacts
absolutely
me. It impacts people because people don't understand. Like, James, why do you go so hard? Like, I was talking to somebody like about so cool thing. The company got credentialed for like several NCAA tournament regional events for first time. Right, this is the first year we got it.
Congratulations!
Thank you. And so I was telling her, well, I got to go to Birmingham. I got to drive to Birmingham on Thursday. I'm going to stay the day, then I'm going to drive back tonight. I'm like, no, you don't. You can just watch it on TV. And I'm like, no, the fuck I can't. I'm going to Birmingham. Yeah. It's 3 hours away. I'm going to drive to Birmingham in the morning. Yeah. I'm going to get there for the first game. I'm going to stay there all day. I'm going to watch these games. Like, this is a big deal. Yeah. And so like that kind of stuff, yeah, of course I could like half-ass it and watch the games on TV. Yeah. But it's not, as you know,
it's not the same.
It's not the same.
No.
And people who don't know the business and don't know what we do don't understand that, like, yeah, it's on TV and that's great, but there's so much shit you miss.
Exactly.
From watching TV. I'm watching the bench. I'm watching how you interact. I'm watching how you talk to your teammates. I'm watching how you receive coaching from your coaches. I'm watching
when you miss a shot, how do you react?
Exactly, because the camera's not on you like that. Right. The camera's moving to whatever, they're following the ball. Yep. So I'm watching that. Right? And that's so important. Like I was at the game where right after the whole Brandon Miller thing broke, I went to the game I was at the game at South Carolina where he had like that huge game, right? Yeah. And so I'm at the game, and you can't tell that he's like, you can see the first 7 minutes he's shook, like he's nervous. He's like, he's scared. They're shouting all types of crazy shit at him. But then you see it, you can kind of see when he like said fuck it. Almost he kind of said fuck it. Yeah. And then he starts playing a different way. And you can kind of feel the energy, but you can't see that on TV.
No, and that's so important for you in your job too.
Yeah, so like that kind of stuff. So like the grind of it all and how I push myself. Same thing. I work a full-time regular job. Yeah. While I'm at work, I'm working on this. When I come home, I'm working on this. Weekends, I'm working on this. It's all day, right? Yeah, and so like, but there's nothing I would rather do. Right. There's literally nothing I would rather do.
And it's funny because like it almost feels like it's not even, and maybe your situation's similar, like it's not even about me at this point. Like it's about like, I don't know, like for me, it's like my mom. Like it's about making her proud.
Yep.
And even though like it is about me, it's like it's for somebody else, I guess.
For sure. Motivation. I think that's what it's like the word, like something has to motivate, and it can't be money. It can't be fame.
If your motivation is money, you are in the wrong industry.
Listen, the money will come.
The money will come.
The money will come. And when it comes, I'll never forget, I worked for the Cavs for 1 year, and I remember my boss, he was like, James, he said, this is what happens in the NBA. He said, they work you to death for, I don't know how many years. And he said, and then one day they just dump a lot of money in your lap. That's what he said. Like whenever the money comes in my lap, it's gonna come in my lap. I'm not worried. I'm okay. Like that kind of stuff. But like he's like that's how he said it happens like that with everybody. One moment you're making pennies, and then the next minute they just throw a bunch of money at you, and you're like, what the fuck do I do with this money? Like,
right.
And so like,
stay down though.
Exactly. So like the grind has to be the grind, the ability to be consistent, the ability to like be self-motivated, because it can't be about money. Like,
right.
I wake up every morning because I enjoy doing this. Right. I go to bed every night happy that I got to do it that day and looking forward to do it tomorrow. Like that's how I wake. That's how I wake up.
Going to bed like, oh, there's blah 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 more in my bank account tonight.
I give no, and literally
when I check my bank account,
money I have, it has, other than like buying cool shit.
Yeah.
I really don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
When I say I don't care, I know that I needed to live. That is it. Right. Other than that, I grew up poor. Like I grew up really fucking poor. So for me, like I'm already doing better than I was doing when I was a kid. So I really don't. Yeah. It doesn't bother. I don't care. As long as I can take care of the things I need to take care of, I don't care.
Yeah. For me, it's like as long as I'm like having those experiences and as long as I'm happy, like the money will come. But right now it's like I want to be happy in what I'm doing and I want to love what I'm doing.
Yep. I think so many people work in jobs that they hate. I mean, I watched my parents like hate their jobs, right? So that was one of the things for me too. I knew that I couldn't. Yeah. Even before I knew that I wanted to do this or even work in sports in general, I knew that I didn't want to work a job that I hated. Me too. Right. And so that was scary. That's probably one of my biggest fears, is to work a job that I hate. Yep. Like that's probably like, that's failure to me. Yeah. Literally, that's failure to me. Yeah. Is doing something that I hate to do, waking up every morning. And I've done it before. When I sold cars for a year, I remember waking up crying, sitting on the bed, like, because I was like, I don't want to do this shit.
And it makes you feel bad about yourself. I totally forgot this when I was telling you about how I got to work for Slam. I didn't go straight from a food photography to Slam. I actually worked at an advertising agency. Okay. In the middle of like Auburn, Alabama for like 5 months. Really? And I was in charge of running social media accounts for like a window shutter company. And as you can imagine, I was like, wow, I just wasted 4 years in college, like it was rough, like, but
a window shutter company.
A window. And that was one of like the 8 accounts. That was the more exciting account. Wow. The window shutters. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. But no, like you got to do what you got to do. You got to stay down and grind, and then you get to where you're going to be, and everything else will come with that. Yeah. Okay, that's good. I love that. I think the other side, I think people who pursue their passions with adversity are better for when they achieve. That's what it sounds like. I mean, obviously, like working somewhere like that, like food photography, getting told by a car dealership you weren't good enough. Like that's the thing. Like, look, I remember one time I was down pretty bad. And I was applying for jobs at like McDonald's and Burger King, right? And I was being told no. I was like, how the fuck are you telling me no? Right? I'm thinking like I have a fucking degree. Right. Like, I've never worked in fast. Right. I used to want to be a chef, so I've worked in restaurant. I've actually worked in fine dining restaurants before in the kitchen. Like, this shit's nothing. Like, I can't make $7.50 an hour working at McDonald's. And I was like, but again, the other side is like, because I'm not supposed to do shit. Yeah. It's not. I've always been able to recognize that, like, if something doesn't work out, it's not for me. Exactly. And to not be offended, not to have my feelings hurt, not to be upset. It's simply like, okay, it's not for me. And then simply just figure out what is and keep going. Yeah. That's the best part about some of this stuff too. But I think the earlier you recognize that, the better off you'll be. We can kind of close this. Like, tell me what's next. Like, what do you see? Where you see yourself next? Like, what's next? I know you're first of all, we're in the lovely OTE podcast studio, and this is our first face-to-face interview for both of us, which is great. What's next for Haley? I know you're obviously OTE season just ended. Yeah. Great fucking, like that final series was like
crazy. That was like,
Yeah.
those are some of the best games I've seen. I've been to
I
a
was
lot
gonna
of
say
those.
that
Yeah.
was some of the best series that
Yeah.
I've seen in sports.
Yeah, that was amazing. So like, what's next? So right now, obviously, you said things are kind of like died down a little bit. All the kids are on spring break. Like, what's next?
You mean like career wise or just the next couple months?
Both. Let's do next couple of months and then let's do career wise.
So the next couple months, it'll be interesting. Like I started here last July, which was the end of summer, so the guys were kind of trickling back in, which now I'm at the opposite side of the stick where they're all about to head out.
Right.
Recently, I started doing the vlogs here, which is something that I've never done before. Everything, besides like the game recaps, the bulk of what I do has been like short-term content.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of having fun with that now, like trying to. I really want to be more player focused is one of my goals, and I really want to like put an emphasis on like showing their personalities of these guys and like who they are because. I mean, every media company shows the same highlights, but you don't really see anything about these guys. So that's kind of a different direction that I've been taking. I just made my 5th one, which will be dropping on Saturday
What's
of
it
the
about?
finals. This one is like all of the game 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
So I got a bunch of like Thompson twin interviews, like Trey Parker, and they're not like serious interviews.
Yeah.
It's kind of like my rendition of like joking around
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's been a really cool avenue to explore. Since the season's down, I got to shoot a lot more Hawks games. So got the Warriors on Friday. I've never shot Steph Curry. I've been waiting for this game for I can't even tell you how many years. But yeah, like a lot of Hawks stuff, a lot of off court content type of stuff. I'll be traveling too for the vlogs as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. I know that I want to also, just on a personal level, keep exploring kind of like the motion side to photography and figure out like new avenues and ways to showcase photos.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like yet. I've been kind of creating some drafts of that, so hopefully I'll have a solid idea and new concept for that in the next like month or two.
Okay.
And then career-wise, I don't know, man. I've been asked this like 3 times this week, and I always tell, it's kind of a dumb answer, but I always tell people the same thing. Like, I'm just doing what makes me happy, and as long as I'm happy here, you'll see me here. And if the right opportunity comes along and it makes sense, like, then that's it. But there's no like one set goal in mind, which I think is it's kind of crazy because I feel like my content is all geared towards like one set goal.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I've done photos, I've done videos, I've done graphics, I've done social, so it's like whatever's the best of those worlds, whatever's the right opportunity, is what I'm gonna do. And I don't know, dude, I wish I could predict, but
That's good. I like that. So you're just open, which is
I'm
great.
very open.
Which is the best part. That's
yeah,
good.
I want to be as well versed in media as I can. So hopefully it's something that combines all of those.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
That's what's up. All right, cool. Well, Haley, that's it. Thank you for coming on the pod. I really appreciate it. I'll turn to the camera and close us out. This has been episode 6 of season 3. Attacking the Paint podcast. James Ivy Williams, Haley Salvador. As I'm trying to come up with a new slogan, so I'm going to say this. So like the reason why I called the podcast Attacking the Paint, right? I was a point guard, and one of the things I was always told was to collapse the paint, right? So small, fast, you break the defense down, and then you kick it out, right? So and how I look at the podcast is we break down stories, information, and then we kick it out to the people and let them receive it. And so that's kind of where I'm trying to go with this. So break it down, kick it out, attacking the paint.
I love that. Break it down, kick it out.
That's it. So until next time, guys, we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.
See you guys. Thanks, James.
Thank you.